with my brother, Adam Redzovic.
Yes.
Always great to have you here. Always good to see you. Always great spending time with you.
Likewise. It's always great to be here and just try to take all this positive vibes I'm getting from you and the crew here. It's always the same, you know. It's interesting, like this. We come from the same roots, so it's not too surprising. But you know, when I come to your academy, I feel like that similar, authentic vibe of being in Brazil and you know, being in a room of people who just love what they do and trying to keep things authentic. There's something therapeutic about it. There's something about just helping me stay balanced, and yeah, it's like a therapy.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Thank you for building this and inspiring guys like me to do something.
Thank you, man. Thank you for your example. Like we're, you know, I feel like we're the same. You know, like you're my brother, your family. Like, you know, your gym has the same vibe. You guys are 100% about building your community, helping people be their best, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so thank you for all the work that you do. Our friendship, you know, being a man of integrity and just, you know, man, being a great person, you know, and we always have fun. It's always great times, you know, so thank you for coming out. It's really an honor, you know, always to be able to spend time with you and, you know, have our students come, you know, to share time with our students. And, you know, I hope to go to Chicago one of these days soon when hopefully things open up more, right?
Yeah, I was looking forward to you coming for the TAC-FIT.
The TAC-FIT, right. We're supposed to go and do I think FlowFit and TAC-FIT certification at your gyms.
Yeah, that was right before the pandemic started, I think, right?
Right.
Yeah, like right before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was looking forward to it because the last, you know, I mean, I started to feel it, you know, probably 10 years in, you know, if you're putting in like 5 days a week in training and you don't have anything that's like, you know, to strengthen the joints, doing some mobility training or some type of systematic recovery, it's just a matter of time before you know, all these check engine lights start popping up, you know.
Right, exactly.
And I've had my share, and you know, now more than ever, I'm excited to you know, go deep with the TAC-FIT system. I got your material I'm studying and using that when I'm teaching classes as my warm up, just to kind of
the Grapples Toolbox 101 that I did.
Yeah. Because it kind of keeps me accountable, and I mean, I have the perfect platform to practice those moves.
Right. I do the same thing. I learn something new, and I do it, right?
Yeah.
We practice. We get to, you know, use that same time to teach, right?
Yeah.
And share that.
Yeah, I heard. I think it was Flavio Almeida or someone saying how the teaching is teaching is a teacher itself, right? Because you have to. You don't want to get up there and
teaching is a teacher itself. Yeah, that's it.
Cause you have to like prepare the night before, make sure you not saying something wrong or whatever. So it forces like another level of focus. At least that's been my experience.
For sure, right? Yeah, everybody's watching it. I mean, you have to know it, right? You have to know it. You have to really know it. You can't just think about it. You have to actually really know it.
Yeah.
To be able to transfer, right, the knowledge, transfer the information correctly.
Yeah, it reminds me of that quote, my favorite quote, one of my favorite quotes, where focus goes, energy flows, and then you have to focus on it, right? Like even if it's 5-10 minutes of review or whatever, it's a level of focus. And obviously the more you do it, the more energy starts flowing. Yeah, it seems like one of those secrets of life.
Right. Man, like you've been how many years has your family been teaching in Chicago? Because you guys had the first gym, right? Like Jiu-Jitsu gym in Chicago.
You know what? I think I'm pretty sure Carlson was there. Carlson Jr. was there.
Okay.
But I mean, back then, you know, no YouTube, no Google.
Right.
Like we knew from the Yellow Pages. I don't know if you guys had Yellow Pages.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
I've been around since 2000. That was like the big deal. That was the big marketing. Like, oh, how much are you gonna pay? How much you gonna spend on the Yellow Pages?
Get a whole page.
Yeah, right.
The big baller had a whole page. But I think Carlson was there. I'm sure he was there, and then also Dino Castillas was one of Hickson's black belts, good friend of mine. But Yeah, it was, you know, us, the three of us, our schools were the first in Chicago, I believe.
Mm.
Yeah, maybe one came shortly before the other, but we've, you know, it's nice in Chicago. We all have a pretty good relationship for the most part, and
Yeah.
everyone's pretty cool. And it's been cool to just see everybody grow. It seemed like everything was so like, we were like a bunch of gangs back in the day where you can't train over there, and these guys suck, we're going to kill them.
Yeah, Fight Club days.
Yeah, but that seems like another world now.
Yeah.
Right? Like everybody's more laid back and more receptive to sharing information.
Yeah.
Probably with the internet, you know, probably just.
There's no way to hide, right?
Yeah.
Matches are streamed live.
Yeah.
You actually get to see the information in the gym. Guys have live in training, you know, the top guys, right, have video on them in training while they prepare for, you know, the tournaments. So that's crazy, you know. It used to be so secretive, like, oh, don't, you know, can't share that, you know, it's top secret information, classified.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah. And very jealous too sometimes. You hear like, oh, this guy trained. I mean, sometimes I think about that, and I wonder how much of that is our ego. I noticed as we're like embarking on different, you know, learning different arts or sciences or topics, whatever, it seems like when we first start getting the knowledge, there's a level of I mean, maybe it's the insecurity, you know, associated with having to like boast and say, well, our school is better than their school, and this and that. And
for sure. We're trying to prove something, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to prove something. I mean, back in the day, it was the Gracies trying to prove that their style is the best style of martial arts. I mean, that's how the UFC was born. So that's the whole culture, right? As it was proving, right?
Yeah.
And then you go into psychology, like, you know, as we're older now and, you know, more experienced, but like, you know, a lot of the young men, myself included, you know, we're trying to prove something to ourselves, right? That, you know, for whatever reason, you know, usually, you know. So,
yeah. That just seems like that's the life cycle, right? We kind of go through those stages of trying to find ourselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, this stuff is, I mean, you know, we teach self-defense, right? And I think knowing ourself, to me, at least in the recent, you know, couple of years, I've been just trying to learn more about myself and, you know, figure out, you know, why we do the things we do. And I think, you know, that's kind of like so closely associated with self-defense, right? Because
it is.
That is self-defense. Like you get yourself in trouble if you
know,
don't.
Like your parents, like they're, you know, what they say, they're like basically like God when you're a kid. And if they say something, that's the law, right? That's the law. Like if you don't listen to them, you're going to die. So whatever they say, you really believe, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of your self-value and, you know, self-esteem, right, is created in those, you know, those early years from your parents, usually, you know, or some kind of, you know, parent figure. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then you carry those memories or those beliefs for, you know, the rest of your life.
Or those insecurities.
Right. The things, you know, and it's just something, it's your perception of it, right? It's not, they probably didn't do that, or you know, maybe they did, but it was your perception, how you take it. And that goes for today, right? But it's so traumatic when you're a kid. For example, like I did a emotional intelligence course I was telling you about this weekend, you know, and you basically go back to your childhood, and I had some issues. Like my father wasn't around when I was growing up, you know, and he lived in New York. My parents separated when I was like 4, and he moved to New York. We moved to Germany, and then I got to spend 2 summers with him. The first summer, he treated me and my sister like royalty. Took us all around, like, you know. He was an engineer, civil engineer, so he like showed us all the skyscrapers and the stories and bridges, and just, you know, like treated like, you know, like royalty. And I was like, oh, it was such a great experience. And then I waited all year for the second year to come around, you know, second summer to come around, which is the next year, right? And man, he didn't show up, you know. He totally, like, he hired somebody to take us around. I wasn't even around. And you know, you suppress it, right? But it made me feel like I was nothing, you know, like I was dirt, you know, like I'm not worthy of anything. And you kind of discover those things, you know, like, you know, I from this weekend, you know, like I've been trying to prove. I thought I got through it, you know, but no, there's stuff in the basement, you know, there's stuff in the basement. You start to unpeel the layers of the onion. You're like, whoa, you know, and I've been trying to prove it to everybody else, but I didn't believe in myself. You know, I win world championships. I, you know, win all the, you know, I'm the best, you know, but I don't think truly deep inside of myself that I'm the best, you know. And that's what matters, right? So you can really give yourself to everybody and your family and my kids, and that's what was like such an eye-opening thing for me, you know, because I want to. That's my potential, right? That's my potential. Really giving myself, being my best, so I can give that to everybody else, you know. So it's kind of crazy, like if you can start going down that rabbit hole. Yeah. But I'm just grateful that I have these opportunities to learn and get better, like this last weekend, but also the tag fit stuff that I'm doing, just a greater awareness of self, you know. And then you just feel more connected to, you know, everybody else and everything. And just makes you live your best life. And that's the ultimate goal. And that's what I think jiu-jitsu does, right? It's a tool for us to do that.
Yeah, I think it's such a, it seems like one of the most powerful tools, you know, because,
no doubt,
you know, what you were just explaining, you know, something like that you have in, you know, in your memory from childhood.
Yeah.
And those are things that, you know, I was actually having a discussion with a buddy of mine, and we were, you know, just talking about similar issues and, you know, how you can remember things from so early in your life. Yeah. And to some people, they would think like, oh, what's the big deal? Toughen up, right, or whatever. Right. And sometimes that's like, on some level, that's good advice. Yeah, toughen up, because it does seem like there's no way around these things. Like we're all gonna have to like deal with some level of trauma or some level.
Well, it creeps up on you, right? That's where it's crept up on me. Like you get to a certain level, but then something brings you down. You know, I've you know, when I was younger, I read Think and Grow Rich. I wrote down my goals. That was my big piece. That was my big, you know, I had a roadmap. I had a blueprint, you know, to become great. You know, I would get there, and then something brings me down. I'm like, what's going on? You know, and it's like some, like, you know, where's some phantom, you know, like feeling, you know. I'm like, what the hell is this, you know? And I get to a certain level, and I'm not like, you know, I'm not reaching my potential, you know. And just showing up, and the big thing, like the big takeaway, like my family, you know, not showing up for my family, like really giving them my best, and yeah, because jiu-jitsu has done so much for me, so it's kind of easy because it's given me so much, and so I'm able to give. You know, I feel like I want to give that, right? Give that back, you know, to everybody. But because I didn't have like my father around, you know, he was an orphan, you know, so how can I, you know, I have no anger. I was, you know, he's amazing. He's like a real hero, you know, in life, you know. But you know, you have those feelings, right? Those perceptions from when you're a kid, a belief. Like you're nothing, you're garbage, you know, and then it's anger, right? And then it's sadness, right? It's like anger, like I hate you, with sadness, deep inside it's sadness. And I'm just, it was amazing, like this last weekend, that I was able to face it, because you put up walls, right? You don't want to toughen up. Toughen up is putting up the walls, but then you never get down to the root of it. And it's just, you know, it can just disappear, right? If you face it, but your defense mechanisms block you from going there. Like, don't go there. It's not safe. You're going to die, blah, blah, blah. It's crazy, right? Crazy.
It's so funny. Like everything you're talking about is, you know, a lot of what I've been researching and trying to figure out as well. It's interesting timing, man.
Yeah. And so, you know, like, man, let's talk about jiu-jitsu, right? So many black belts. They're like single, like the single moms, they didn't have their dads around. So many black belts. I do interviews, and you know, their dads weren't around. I mean, that's a common thing, not even just black belts. That's it's a big thing, right? In the world these days. What do you think that does? You know, you know, as a kid, what kind of beliefs do you have about yourself? You know, so it's interesting, right? It's interesting, and you want to help people, right? You want to give them your best. And it's great to have this kind of knowledge to have, you know, in your toolbox.
Yeah,
because you wanna help people live their best life. Jiu-jitsu does that for you. It breaks through those walls. It breaks through those barriers. Breaks through those beliefs. You know, like I can be a winner. Like that's what it's done for me. I don't know if it's done for you, but I am a winner. I am a champion. I was a champion. I am a champion, you know, but I showed it to everybody else, but not to myself.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it, like deep down in my soul, in my little 8-year-old boy, you know, I didn't believe it, you know, that's crazy. What the fuck?
Yeah, and everything you're describing from my research, it seems like the scariest guys we would admire growing up,
right.
like Mike Tyson, they talk about the same challenges that they face. It seems like this is a big part of life for most of us.
Yeah, we all have these things, you know. It's a beautiful thing is you can deal with them, right? You can face them, and I think jiu-jitsu is a tool for that. 100%. Tact foot is a tool for that. Can you get a psychologist? Can you get a psychiatrist? You know, I don't know what the difference. A psychiatrist can prescribe drugs. I don't believe in that, you know, but maybe sometimes, right? You need it. So I shouldn't say I believe in that, but jiu-jitsu is a tool, man, right? It's a tool to totally release, you know, beliefs, you know, that hold you back, right, from your best life.
Yeah, and this year I noticed it. I mean, because this year, 2020, even 2021, right? Who knows? It's gonna. It looks like it's gonna. Who knows? It's gonna happen this year. Yeah, I mean, it seemed like there was like a psychological war.
It's a war, man. It's a World War III, man.
Yeah,
it's a World War III.
Yeah, and it's in our minds.
So divided. Yeah, it's in our minds. Yeah. Exactly.
And I saw a lot of that kind of seep into just, and I'm trying to get off social media a little bit. I'm just take a drug, but sometimes like I need it. I gotta promote something,
crazy, right?
and
crazy,
there's truth there. But sometimes like I'm sick of it. But I notice on social media where I have students who are like great people. They're all nice, and they would never have any issues one-on-one. But like in the midst of all that stuff, they're arguing with each other,
breaking
online,
apart.
And then and there was
it's bringing up all those insecurities, all those those self-limiting beliefs, about themselves, and you're like, where does that come from, right? And all this situation, right, brings those things out. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know for myself not being able to. Basically, my workout regimen was like almost non-existent for the year. Like I would try to get one. I probably had a couple workouts a month. Yeah, and I noticed. Not having the human connection of being in a room with other people and just talking and smiling and training, touch, hugging, training. Yeah. And then, even the techno, like focusing on technique, the exercise, I was basically becoming more angry. Yeah. I was more like frustrated. And I was not, and I was clearly observing, like, it's not because of like any, like, the school's not going to make it. No, it's just more like, I don't have the jiu-jitsu the way I've had it, I don't have my community.
That jiu-jitsu lifestyle, right? Which is connection, human connection, being around each other like we are now, talking, touching, and I think choking each other,
That's why I think also
trying to break each other's arms.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's
where we're building trust, right? We're building trust. We're like connecting, even if it's like, when we were younger, like, I don't know if you feel the same, but, used to have these rivals and I hate, that guy, but then as you get older, you're like, man, that guy brought out the best in me. You realize that, like you see it with the old teams, like the Gracie Baugh and the Carlson Gracie and all the guys at these master divisions, all these master tournaments, they all have dinner together and they're like best friends, Yeah. Because they actually brought out the best in each other.
Yeah, they had sacred experiences.
Yeah,
together.
Like connection, right? So even with like hate or whatever you thought you made up in your head, you're connecting with them. And I think we all need that human connection, and being in this isolation and separating everybody, right? Like social distancing and like just that constant fear, right? Which suppresses your immune system.
Yeah, and
that fight or flight suppresses your immune system, so you can run away from that saber-toothed tiger. That's how we're designed. Yeah, it's almost like somebody's trying to get us sick. I was joking, like, did Cybernet already take over? Like, what's the deal? Like all these tech giants, like, they're trying to mess us up. So it's Cybernet.
Man, I think it is, you know, I the older I get, I'm more like not so firm on any super like particular positions. Like for example, for conspiracy, like I would believe a lot of them. You know, just I wouldn't be surprised.
We have to be open to it, right? We have to be open to it. Like, what do we know? What do we know? Like, especially this last year really showed us like, hey man, things don't always seem like they seem, you know, like there's another story. And why are we doing this? Why are we, you know, like after a certain time, you know, when you actually look at the science, when you actually look at the facts, and, you know, they say facts because, you know, fact checkers and all of a sudden all this like, you know, filtering and, you know, like you're not seeing what you only see what they want you to see. And all these things being censored. I'm like, I thought we lived in a free country, you know. I thought there was a First Amendment, you know. What happened to that, you know? Like the president getting, you know, like whatever, agree or not agree, but it's kind of crazy, you know. Like all these things being censored, you know.
Yeah, it's and in the midst of all of it, and I guess because you know I was, you know, on the topic we were speaking a little earlier with the psychology and with ego. Yeah, man, it's ego. There's so much ego involved. Yeah. Like and I'm not sitting here as a saint. I have to get my ego under control. But it seems like us as humans, we will pick a side and then we become invested in that side.
You believe right in that, whatever you believe in. Same thing as the kid.
Yeah, and then the ego doesn't want to be wrong.
Yeah.
No matter what side you're on, like that's something that seems like is a part of having a toxic personality. Is like you have a hard time admitting you're wrong.
Yeah.
And you know, I had a buddy of mine explain to me who's you know, into tech, and he was saying he doesn't. How was he explaining it? Something to explain.
Was the name of that Netflix movie Social Dilemma? What is it called?
I haven't heard of that, but I've
The Social Experiment, something like that.
I haven't watched it, but I've heard.
It's about Facebook and all the social media things.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it is within the realm of possibility to put us all in these little echo chambers and have us feel like, hey, the world agrees with me, right? Yeah, I'm getting all this stuff. I'm getting all the stuff I'm seeing, but then meanwhile, another person's seeing the other side. And, you know, like and we're all kind of just getting pumped up, and, you know.
I mean, man, we can talk about what, you know, different people, but I'm team human, you know, I'm team humanity, and all this nonsense. Like, who cares, you know? One of the drills they had us do is kind of just talk to people and just share some kindness, you know? And I walked in the street, you know, I had a group, you know, and went. And I talked to this 63-year-old African-American man, you know. He's just sitting there. He was in a wheelchair and drinking some coffee. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? My name is Alberto. What's your name? Yeah, I'm, you know, D. And I was like, oh, where are you from? He's like, he grew up in the South in Alabama and Birmingham. And his, you know, his church was bombed on a Sunday with all kids. They all the, you know, people dress up. That was their thing, you know. And just the abuse, you know, and, you know, it was crazy, a different time. And you know, he's 62, so he was in the middle of that, you know, it was a different time. Just the racism was just that's the deep South, right? And, yeah, it was crazy, man, crazy. Like I was just listening, and he's like, my mom and my dad, they taught me to never have hate in my heart. You know, I was like, it was deep, you know. And then he just talks about, yeah, we need more love and more caring in this world. And everybody's so divided, you know. And he's talking about like crazy Trump and, you know, this and that. And just, it is like, we're all so divided, you know. Let's all come together. We're all on the same team. We're all like working. We're all connected, right? And we had to walk around with the sign, you know. And we were like from Genki Sudo, you know, we are one, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
and we are, right? We are,
and as simple as what you just said, like, you know, and it sounds like such a cliche, right? No, just love. Yeah. But I think we should take a closer look at that, because a lot of the hurt around the world comes from there's no love. It's like there are different trauma cycles, right? You have the people being sexually abused, physically abused, emotionally abused. And this creates what happens. A lot of times people will take those patterns and apply them to other people. And these things, they end up like, you know, maybe it's going to lead someone to substance abuse. Maybe it's going to lead to like, you know, just those are more
abuse, right? More hurt, more heartbreak, more pain.
Yeah, and it's the opposite of
more
love.
Suffering. Yeah. More indifference, right? The opposite of love, indifference.
Yeah.
It's time to stop that bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, thank God for jiu-jitsu, right? Thank God we have jiu-jitsu, and we gotta. It was crazy with this pen because like, is jiu-jitsu done? Right? Is it over?
Yeah.
And so you think about that. I'm like, there's no way. And I, you know, if any week to my last breath, I'm gonna fight for what I believe in, and the world needs jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
they need movement training. You know, we need each other.
Yeah, 100%. Man. I felt like when the world is trying to figure out what's going on, like we have the solution to some extent.
Yeah, you know,
make a jiu-jitsu school in every neighborhood.
Skynet knows, you know, so he's trying to check all the gyms and the people connecting, you know, take that out.
Yeah, it is special, man. I remember there was there were some riots in Chicago, and for a few days, you know, the city was getting really crazy, and again, I'm not. You know, again, the ego is going to want to voice its concerns or its pick its side. And, you know, I'm like you, I'm team human, man. If someone has a good heart, I'd like to be around them. Yeah. And if they don't have a good heart, I don't want to be around them. And it doesn't matter what color they are or what creed they are. Like, I think it comes down to good hearts. Yeah. And, but me and my good friend, we were like, we were like, look, the city was crazy, man, and we were seeing like in different cities, like jiu-jitsu schools burnt out. Like, what the hell?
Right. And down here in LA, Long Beach, you know, one of the 10 planets, you know.
Yeah. So, and I'm
that's crazy. That we had to get ready. We spent the night here, you know, like with guns and stuff. Like we were ready, you know. We didn't know what was gonna happen. We're like, no, we're gonna hold it down. Yeah. And for all this whole block, you know, the 2 blocks, they were boarding up the windows, putting like minority owned. They were scared and. Like now we're gonna
so you
do our best.
It sounds like you guys going through the same stuff. Like,
yeah, for sure. We didn't know, but like the Burbank, the city, the police here, like they did circles around. They worked their butts off, man. Those days, you know, it was amazing, you know. So but not in other cities, you know. It's crazy.
Yeah, me and my friend.
Why wouldn't you do the right thing? Do you want the city to be burned down? Do you want? Yeah. You know, it's like, man, what's going on?
Yeah, I've heard.
Why are they causing all this chaos and destruction? Why?
Yeah, and it's not so black and white, right? Like, so there are some people who would say, hey, it's just money, just you have insurance. And like, no, I actually live above my school. I have my kids sleeping there. I'm not going to let someone burn the building down. Yeah. So me and my buddy, we were watching the school, you know, we're standing with rifles and we're protecting our neighbor's liquor store, and we look to each other like, I don't consider myself white. Of course, you'd probably say I'm white. And my friend, he doesn't really consider himself black, like the label black, but he's black. Yeah. You would someone call black. But we both happen to be Muslims, and it's like 5 a.m. and we're guarding our neighbor's liquor store. We don't drink liquor. But the point I'm trying to make is like, the stuff we see on the media, they want to make everything very black and white. Black and white, yeah. Like, the world is not black and white. No. It's very complex. Yeah. And I think a lot of what we get in this experience of being involved in something like jiu-jitsu or wrestling, where you're in a room and you trusting each other and pushing each other, challenging each other, like, we definitely have something special, man. It's hard. It's like, it reminds me of the Hanzo Gracie quote, or there's more philosophy on these mats than the Ivy League schools. And the one philosophy that I really value, and it comes from, I mentioned it last time, I think, from the Wrestling Mindset podcast. They push this perspective of like, basically just focus on what you can control. Do not focus on things outside your control. Because, you know, when we go to compete and we start thinking like, man, what if I get tired? What if I get knocked out? What if now we're focusing on things we can't control? And usually the performance doesn't help. That doesn't help performance. But those times when we just focus on what we can control, be aggressive, just do your thing, go hard. And the results are good, you know? Yeah. And I noticed that's not just the mats, that's on life. Yeah. So many of us focus on there's a fear porn habit. I watch the news every night for 3 hours and just get
brainwashes you, right?
Yeah.
What if, you know, I was at the dentist, you know, with all the COVID stuff, and, you know, like, I was, it was on for 25 minutes or whatever, and I started to watch it, and I have my certain mindset, but after watching it, kind of like keeps going on, fear. You start to like, man, well, what if, you know, like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. You like, I feel a certain way, but then you watch that and you're like, well, what if, you know? And then once you open up, once you believe that, you know, it's hard. You know, it's hard. Then you have to work even harder to change that belief, right? To get out of that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, you know, I know with this whole subject, some people it's like a religion in the sense that
right. It's tough. It's the beliefs, right? It's the beliefs.
Yeah. Someone was telling me it'd be good to. I gotta double check this, but religion in English, I think it. If you're listening to this, double check it. I'm not sure about it, but it might mean to be tied together in some sense. So. If we are tied together in some of those beliefs, it seems like almost it's when you see people argue about, you know, certain subjects, right? Politics, religion, like this, a lot of what we're seeing now is not so different. But yeah, I mean, me personally, I don't want to live my life in fear. Realistic. I feel like training in some of the gyms I've trained in around the world, I'd be more scared to get like a MRSA or something.
Right, yeah.
I think we
in the beginning of the pandemic, I called you on over the phone, right? So we did a Zoom or something. Yeah, it was funny. We talked about that. Yeah, like I think a lot of jiu-jitsu guys are like that. You're like, we're more scared of staff or something like that, you know. Then
I mean, we've been so risky,
right?
If you want to call it, but maybe we've built up our immune system,
right? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, definitely, I'm not the expert, but I just feel like my quality of life. I have to focus on what I can control.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
like my dad had it 3 times. It was crazy.
3 times.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was in a nursing home. They locked him down. He really regressed, like his health and everything, just because nobody's visiting. Or we call him, but it's not the same. You know, you need that human connection. And so he has some dementia. He was like, it was really bad. We went to visit him for Easter with my kids, his grandkids, right? So sad. It was like visiting somebody in jail. They put the audio, the phone next to him. You know, it was like it was like visiting somebody in jail. It was really terrible.
That's very sad.
And then on top of that, fast forward 3 weeks after that, after the Easter, so that was like 2 months in. He has COVID in the middle of the night. They take him to he went to Vietnam War, so he was a veteran. So they take him to the veteran hospital and then it started, and then he got out. He went to another place and then it happened again. And after the second time, because he was so lost, it was in the middle of the night, so they left his hearing aids, they left his glasses. Imagine that. And then it's like that ET movie, right, where they're with all the garb, PPE, all that stuff. So it's like he's like, where am I? What's going on? Am I like treating him like an alien, right? Yeah. So after the second time, they call my sister for end of life decisions, and we're like, what, And they're like, he stopped eating, and gonna put a tube up his nose, and we're like, what? And we called like the hospital over and over and over, and the chief of staff of the hospital and the doctor, they knew the prescription was for us to allow us to see him, and he would have not made it if we hadn't been able to see him, and so they allowed us to see him. And after one day, he started drinking water. After 2 days, he started to eat again. And we knew we had to get him out, and he's at his girlfriend's, and he's in a good place now, as good as you can be, but
how old is he now?
He's not that old, but he didn't take care of himself, like he always ate, didn't eat well, didn't, stress, PTSD. He was like, he had a lot of traumas, so his mindset and stuff. And so he's aged, much faster. He's only like 74, but he's like kind of like a 94-year-old in a way, or 100. I don't know. But it shows me like, man, you don't want to be trapped. What's worse, I think, than dying is just being trapped in your own body, right? Being there, but not being able to move and just function,
Yes, man, you can imagine, especially when you're facing death. And you can't see your family.
Yeah, I go see him, and I ring the doorbell, or and he can't, it hurts him, I can't even get up and walk to open up the door, so it's like I was like, don't worry, you're gonna your example is, your kids, me, I see how are you going to give up or are you going to keep fighting? And he kept fighting. And before I took him out of the hospital, they tested him again and he tested positive one more time, And so I was so pissed. I was like, I was going to go see him the day before we were going to take him home, and they're like, oh, you can't go see him. He has, he tested positive. I'm like, what? I was so angry. It's like, that's why we don't want people here in the hospital, blah, blah, blah. I knew, I was like, and the doctor they had really good emotional intelligence. The doctor that came to see me, and they really cared, and they knew really exactly what was happening. And so he talked to me. He's like, yeah, I was really sorry, but policy, blah, blah, but everything will be okay. We're going to test him again in a couple days, and hopefully it comes back negative. And it did, actually. So there's a lot of like false positives and just, stuff like that too. So we got him out, and I made like a post, because he was bedridden for I don't know how many months at that point, and then he's a fighter, and man, I was really inspired, just that he has that spirit inside of him. You can have your body breaking down, whatever, but he fought, he could have given up, right, any of those times, but he kept fighting, And
did he do any more, like when he was coming up, like any type of combat sports?
No.
Any sports at all?
No, he ran track. He ran long cross country track. He ran cross country, endurance. He was like a Green Beret. He was like a special forces, like Green Beret, and he saw a lot. He saw a lot of stuff. He saw a lot of stuff happened. And he, wakes up with like a nightmare every day. So they put him on a bunch of medication. So that's another thing, right? He has diabetes. He has, he's had heart attacks. He's had some strokes too. So he's like, he's the perfect guy. And then, it's just crazy, like just the situation. But what's worse, like he told me, I'd rather die than have to go through that again. What they did to him. That's the worst thing you can do. The hospital and the nursing home, just being isolated.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny, man. I was kind of going through the exact same thing again. My dad had a stroke, a couple strokes last year, and it was a similar thing at one of the homes that he was at. They wouldn't allow visitors for like 2 weeks, and same kind of thing. And you can hear when you talk to him, there's definitely
sadness.
It's like a torture, right?
Yeah.
It's a
heartbreak. You can't see your family at that age, right? It's like you live for, that's, even my age, I live for, like our community or jiu-jitsu, my friends, my family, my kids. And if you take those things away, like.
Yeah, it's torture. Yeah.
What do they do in prison, right? They put you in solitary confinement.
It literally is torture, right? It's.
Skynet's already taken over.
I believe like we were saying earlier, like I don't believe the world is black and white. I also believe in like, there's obviously like physics, but I also believe there's metaphysics.
For sure.
I think there's things that like
for sure
we're not really gonna ever like truly understand, but there's like sometimes there's some beauty in some of the stuff we have to endure, and maybe this was something being restrained from, like your father being restrained from you, or similarly in my situation. Like maybe this was something they needed at this point in their life to just kind of come to terms with something, But again, I think, we're in a fight, and we're fighting for our soul, our mind. And I think that optimistic mentality of trying to look for the wisdom, the beauty, and the suffering, because there is, right? We see it, right? Like we go to the gym, we suffer, we just like feel like dying, and then what happens? You get jacked, you get shredded, you get in shame, but you're not going to get it without going through that.
Right.
So, just life is interesting. Life's a fight, and hopefully we win.
We will win. I believe in humanity. There's a guy, George Glider. He has a book called Life After Google. And
that's a cool title.
And he's like a future guy, And there's a guy, Ray Kurzweil, that I used to listen to or read and listen to, and it was depressing because basically like artificial intelligence is going to take over, humanity is going to end, and I was getting depressed, So I was like, I got to stop doing that, And I remember my wife telling me like, it's not going to go out, turn out like that, And I wanted to believe that, So I stopped watching it, because it was just like, we don't really matter anymore. And so then I found this George Glider guy, Life After Google, who's a future guy. He had like some crazy books, like amazing books in the past, like the Reagan administration. He gave it to all his cabinet members, Anyway, it's called Life After Google, and it's the end of big tech and the emergence of blockchain technology.
So he's saying blockchain technology is going to challenge tech?
Yeah, like it's the new blockchain technology. It's the new. It's going to be in everything, and everything it's kind of like a human. Like all of your history, your ancestors, that's in a way biology, right? Like from a cell to just everything is backtracked to everything that you've ever done, if you've ever experienced. Your parents is passed down into your grandparents, your great grandparents. We are one, right?
Have you ever taken those like DNA, the 20
I have.
Like that?
Yeah,
it's pretty interesting how they can trace.
What are you? What are you?
It was.
It's interesting
shocked.
because you guys are from.
Yeah, I'm from Bosnia, but on the test it was like 60% Bosnian, 40% Ukrainian. I never thought. I never had no idea that. But then I found out. That's based on how much DNA they've collected thus far. So I like logged back in, I checked, and it said like I'm less Ukrainian. So I guess there's. So who knows? Maybe in a couple of years that's going to be totally different.
Probably have some Ukrainian. Who knows? Yeah, who knows? Yeah. I did mine, and mine was like 40% Spanish. From like Iberian, peninsula, right? And 40% German, and like 20% American Indian.
Oh, very cool, man.
Yeah. So I got almost the whole world covered.
Yeah, and did you see how they can trace back like where you originally traveled from, which route from Africa you're
I haven't seen that, no.
Yeah, they got some pretty interesting stuff. I mean, I don't know how accurate it is, obviously, but they got some stuff. Based off of the DNA test, they saw like, this is how much coffee you can tolerate, or you probably got some.
Yeah, I did all those things too. Yeah, and so I was like, and it's pretty accurate.
Pretty accurate.
Do you like vanilla or do you like chocolate? And your tendency is to like vanilla more. Like what?
Yeah, so maybe you start.
And they're tracking you now. And now they know. So you start seeing vanilla ads, right? They sell you data.
And that's true, right? That's straight up true. I mean, just from what I'm seeing, like right now, after this conversation, I'm going to see some of these things we're talking about.
Right. Like I like vanilla, and it said I like vanilla. I'm like, man. It said probably vanilla, and I'm like, yeah, I like vanilla.
Yeah, man, it's really interesting where we are, man. Just seeing, we lived through an interesting transition, the internet, all of this tech that we're seeing.
And the new technology, like he says this, like let's talk about the Marxism, like communism and all that. And they thought the apex of humanity was going to be, the Industrial Revolution, but it wasn't. Technology and different things came into play that, brought down, changed things. That wasn't the apex of humanity, right? And so we think artificial intelligence and these technologies is the apex of humanity. But like we like you said, we have no idea how we work. Maybe we'll never know. Once we become the infinite. Maybe then we'll be one with who we really are. But to think that is kind of being also like. Arrogant, right? That we think we're better than billions of years of evolution. And so he says that we're basically going to merge with technology, but there's always going to be humanity in there. It doesn't count if there's not humanity in that, virtual reality things. But it's blockchain, it's so, and he loves his family. And I was like, I just got a good feeling. I was like, oh man, thank God there's hope, It really gave me like confidence. And so I started reading more about him and reading more of the things that he said, and, just to help me understand, and blockchain, and just, there's hope, I believe, I believe, I have faith, you know, in humanity and unity, love, jiu-jitsu, right? Which is all of that, you know. We need more of it. You know, our jobs are more important than ever. TAC-FIT, you know,
straight up,
connects us because not everybody can do jiu-jitsu. Not everybody can do jiu-jitsu, but everybody can do TAC-FIT and get the same benefits.
Yeah, I'm excited to start applying more TAC-FIT.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you be a part, and I know, like,
because there's some people who are they jiu-jitsu. If you're coming in and you don't have, you know, you have super limited joint mobility.
Yeah, you need. It allows you to go deeper into, you know, how we work, right? So just why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you want to? Don't you want to be like the best teacher you can be? Don't you want to be the best jiu-jitsu? Be the best jiu-jitsu you can be? You know, like there's some quotes like Marcelo Garcia that I love Marcelo Garcia, you know, and he's like, yeah, if anybody trains hard enough, they can become a world champion. But that's not the case because people learn differently. You know, you have to do the right things, right? You have to do the right things, and some people. You know, you have to do, you know, they have to learn the right way, you know, for you to be able to understand and to be able to make those changes, right? So you can get more, you know, athletic or more connected, more, you know, like you clean your movements, you know. Of course, I believe that, you know, but you need to be precision, right? You need to be around the right things, you know, like some of these psychology things, like going down the rabbit hole and your self-esteem things, you know, like those kinds of things, you know, you have to do, you know, do the work, right? Do the work, you know, and so okay, technology can be bad, but it's also good because it's allowing the information to, you know, be accessible easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely. I think there's truth in what he said, but I think also what you're saying too. Like if you're training hard, but if you're not doing the proper training, then you might end up, you know, maybe.
It's not training hard; it's training smart. It's training hard to train smart, right?
Yeah,
and that's life, right? Yeah. That's the philosophy. Let's train hard to train smart.
What do you think about like coming up in, you know, from what I'm looking back over 20 years, this whole experience of learning this art, you're kind of like picking up pieces of a puzzle and you're trying to figure out how they can connect and you're building a game, but you know, along the lines of what we're talking about earlier, how things are developing but you're seeing now where you have so many smart people have come to the community and have contributed to the community. And now with, you know, people sharing information technology, now you're starting to see people really get better quicker. Yeah. You know, so that's kind of to some extent, like it reminds me of the TAC-FIT too. Cause I remember people trying to figure out how to train jiu-jitsu, but even how to work out, like what do you work out for jiu-jitsu?
That's exactly, you know, TAC-FIT's, it's the future of training. Okay. It's the future of training. It's all the right stuff. And the science you couldn't prove it. The science couldn't prove it, you know, because we didn't have the imaging technology. We didn't have the technology to prove that. But now it's science. Now it's science, you know. And, you know, it's all the right stuff that you need to do, you know, to prevent injuries, right? To have optimal performance, you know, recover from injuries, right? Which is, you know, jiu-jitsu, but just life in general, stress, recover from stress. The number one killer isn't, you know, it's stress. So like recovering from stress, getting that awareness, I'm getting stressed, I need to take it easy, and how to work precision, right? It's so precise. You know, it's called the world's smartest workout.
Yeah, I like that. I saw that on the...
You know, it's so funny because Scott Sonnen, the creator, the founder, he had learning disabilities. You know, I'm quoting, learning, you know, supposed, right? And it was called dumb, and he was even institutionalized as a kid. Because he couldn't learn, he was being disruptive and blah, blah, blah. And of course, some other things too, like joint disease and like, you know, kind of like getting addicted to the foods, all the same stuff, right? But it's funny now that it's called the world's smartest workout, like, you know, and he has a TED Talk, you know, it's pretty cool. You should look it up, TED Talk, you know, how to suppress genius, you know, and
I watched that one.
Oh, you did? Okay, cool.
I watched that one.
Yeah,
it's very inspirational.
If you judge a, you know, a fish, how we can climb a tree, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful to see. Like a lot of the people who we admire, they come from kind of like touching back on how we were talking about earlier, trauma, dealing with trauma and overcoming, you know, never giving up. A lot of, you know, like Mike Tyson, right? Like, look what he had to go through. What he had to endure. Look at Scott Saunders. What did he have to endure? And look what they've given the world back, right? They've given us inspiration.
I have a bunch of pictures of Mike Tyson, right? Paintings, right? I love Jeff Glover. I love Jeff Glover. I love our Muay Thai coach, Andy. You know, of course, Hoist Gracie, Draculino. Those are the guys I have on the wall, right? But like Mike Tyson. Why Mike Tyson?
And
do you ever think about that? Why like people love Mike Tyson? Why I love Mike Tyson?
Why you love him?
You know, like when it was the first fight I ever saw, you know, and it was on like a pay-per-view that he fought Spinks, you know, and it was like 17, I don't know how many seconds it was, you know, it was like the first round, a few seconds, and he knocked him out, and I was just like, whoa, you know, I was so like mind blown, you know, first time I ever saw like a fight, you know, and then I started to grow up, and he just, you know, just started dismantling everybody, and he was like my, like kind of a childhood hero, you know, just how he was so just vicious, you know, and just his self-belief and, you know, the mindset. And then as I've gotten older too, like also when, you know, I got older and the way he would talk to his opponents, you know, it was like, he would get nasty, right? You know, he would say crazy stuff, you know, but it was so real. It was so authentic, you know? And like, there's something about that makes you like respect him, like love him, you know? Like I think probably part of me probably was like, man, I want to be like that. I want to say how I really feel. You know, I want to live the life that I, you know, who I really am, you know? So I think that was part of it. And then, you know, just now, like still, you know, like he's evolved, right? So much, like he's come to peace, right? With a lot of things. And,
yeah, it's beautiful.
You know, it's like, he's my hero. He was my childhood hero, and he's still my hero, you know, even more.
Yeah, it's that hero's journey.
Oh, hero's journey, man. He's such a like
the villain.
He's the goat,
guy.
You know, like he's the goat, and it's, you know, like the last fight with Lennox. You watched it, right?
Yeah, with Roy Jones, right?
Roy Jones, yeah. Man, you watched it.
He looked better than.
Yeah, you're like, oh my god! Like you're like, imagine you're gonna fight Mike Tyson the way he's bobbing his head. You're like, oh my god!
Yeah. Can you imagine? You know why I love Mike? When you hear about, you know, he openly talks about all this stuff of his, you know, mother, father into prostitution, pimping, and drug dealing, and growing up in a neighborhood where, you know, I think he recently was explaining he was sexually assaulted as a kid. Yeah. So I mean, we know people who come from that level of trauma, what that leads to. Yeah. And obviously he was, you know, doing things and saying things that, you know, people wouldn't want their kids to see in his prime. But now again, learning more about ourselves, when someone's been through what they've been through, you know, and the brain can, you know, become rewired, and it's not surprising that they act up. But look what, everything he's been through, to go and get ready for another fight at 50-something years old and put himself through that after he is like showing us that we have to keep fighting. You know what I mean? Like it's such an inspirational. That's it. You know, and he's not perfect. I'm not either. No one is. Yeah, for sure. Nobody's perfect. And
but he's trying. He's fighting. You know, he's going for it. You know, he's living.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, it makes me want to compete again.
Right? You know, like he was like, they were interviewing him, right? And he's like, you know, like it's for humanitarian reasons, like, oh, you know, kind of like ego kind of stuff. And he's like, man, it's not about that. I want to. This is for humanity, basically. You know, humanitarian reasons. That's who I fight for. It's not for me to show I'm better than. No, it's not about me, man. Mike Tyson, you know?
I mean,
and then he's so funny that afterwards when they had Roy Jones Jr. and him sitting, you know, standing up, you know, and you see, Roy Jones Jr.'s face. He was just like, oh my God, I just like survived a mauling. and then he's doing the interview with Roy Jones, and then he does one with Mike Tyson. Like, man, nobody cares about me, my ass, you know? Like, I was in the ring too. You know, but like everybody like assumes already, like, you're Mike Tyson, man. You're like, you're not scared of, you know, of anything. But he's like the most scared, right? When you see his interviews and stuff.
And that's what I really respect, man. Because I don't know about you, but I'm gonna imagine it's the same thing. Because that's what I'm hearing Mike, you know, describe. But like, you know, doing your first competition, right? Like, man, you're really dealing with a lot. You know, you're especially when
getting out of your comfort zone.
And you're a white belt.
Yeah.
you don't know how to be patient, and you don't got no technique. You're going to war.
Yeah.
You're going to go fight.
To the death.
Yeah. I was talking to a buddy of mine.
You're going to die.
A buddy of mine was
when I say that, I think of that Asian guy from The Hangover, you know, but did you die, you know? Like that meme, you know? But you know, that's how you feel, like, oh, shit, I'm going to die, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And, you know, that's real, man. I mean, those emotions. Yeah. A buddy of mine, we were having a, you know, heart-to-heart conversation, and someone I grew up with the other day, and he was telling me how, like, you know, his whole life, no one believed in him, and he was, you know, always never made the team, this and that. And this is one of my training partners from like 20 years ago, and he was pretty good in jiu-jitsu, and he got into the blue belt. But even in jiu-jitsu, he was saying how, like, he was training so hard, and it was the first time he was going to win a gold medal, you know. The ref cheated him out or something. Oh, yeah? He didn't get it. Second time, he had to fight one of our teammates in the finals, who was like some senior ranking guy, and they did one of those things where they just gave it. So again, like, his whole life, he's like
he's never the champion,
and
like
then,
me, right? Like, I'm like,
and then the third time he goes, he's about to do it. He's gonna win it. Ref screws him. He has to go to overtime, and he's telling me this story. I just started laughing, because most people don't. People who haven't done this before, they don't know what that means. But if you're in that situation where you're like trying to win, and you've been putting through war, and then you overtime, you're in a state of war, you know, and you have a part of you that's going to kill or going to hide, and you have to be in there. And but again, all that stuff, it makes us. It makes us ready to deal with the world. Hopefully,
take on anything. When did he get his gold medal? Finally,
man, unfortunately, never got it.
Oh my god!
So I think you know, he's probably still dealing with that a little bit. But he ended up he became very successful in the business world, and he's got, you know, he's proved himself. I guess he's kind of to some extent settled that. But hopefully, he's listening to this and.
It goes to other ways, right?
Yeah, I mean,
not everybody can be a world champion. Not everybody can be, you know, win things, but. The things they've gotten out of that, like I love Dan Gable and a lot of the wrestlers, right? They didn't become All-American or win a national championship, but the character things that it made them through that journey has allowed them to be crazy successful people in life.
Yeah, they know how to fight, right? They know how to deal with adversity.
Yeah,
they know how to, you know, keep moving forward and
be the best at life, being the best at being when I'm a dad, a husband.
Yeah, I really love this, man. I was happy. Everything we're talking about right now, like the wrestling mindset guys, they dig super deep in this. Yeah. You know, when they're talking about how, again, going back to those. I mean, actually, Lloyd Irvin had a video about this called BJJ bitch assness a long time ago, which was actually
excuses, right?
Yeah, like
not owning your stuff.
Yeah, and this is the kind of stuff where if you're hanging in those circles of athletes who are trying to win and the ones who are winning, you start to come closer and closer to this like mindset of like, you know, shut up and train, man. Like, don't make excuses. Like, focus on what you can control. Yeah. Stop, you know, talking and do more. You know, and but then. If you're hanging around people who just like offer you excuses all the time,
go through the motions, but they're not going for it. They're fake,
But they're patting you on the back to make your ego feel better. Like that can definitely set you up for failure. But yeah, man, I'm very grateful, you know, just being a part of this this art that we're, you know, I met you through the art, right? I've met so many inspirational people through the art. It's transformed my life, and. I definitely think we have something special. And like you said, we got some work to do, man, because people started to get a little crazy last year. But hopefully we'll get back to normal. We'll get, we will. We'll get our balance back. I think that's what it comes down to. Just find your balance. Be balanced. Be a balanced person. And I think jiu-jitsu will be a great tool to help us get there.
I am the Force, and the Force is with me, right? Like, is it Rogue One, the Star Wars movie? They said that, you know?
I think so.
And it's like, that's it, though. We are energy. You know, we're getting all hippie, right? And all this stuff, but it's real, right? It's real.
There is something there, man.
It's real, you know. It's in, you know, all those chakras and stuff, but that's science now, man. It's science. Your pineal gland, you know, like you're like it's like an antenna, you know, picks up, you know, frequencies, you know. So it's all this stuff is science now. It's crazy, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, something that
we give out the energy, our thoughts, right? And then our emotions attract whatever we put out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
how we feel about it,
Yeah. There's definitely some energy out there. And I think, that's why a lot of people will choose to pray or meditate and kind of get connected to that energy, and you get something from it.
There's a reason, right? It's been around for forever. Right? Yeah. Because it's good for us, right? It's good for us. It's good for our tribe, our communities, the world.
Yeah. I saw an interesting one recently, form of meditation. I think it was a Hawaiian form where if you're having some issues with someone in your life, it's not happy, you're not, they're the problem, you want them to improve. There's a Hawaiian tradition that, and I'm seeing this on YouTube, so some in Hawaii probably like, what the hell are you talking about? We don't do that. But it was something like just saying like 20 minutes a day. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Just these words, like these exercise, like becomes like, it's like, it creates like almost like a consciousness of, some of us haven't said thank you in years to anybody. You know what I mean? Like that's an issue, but that practice,
thank you. Forgive me. I love you.
Yeah. Thank you. No, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love it. I think that's how it goes, but I've just researching.
Please forgive me. Yeah.
A lot of these things that from other just dabbling.
Thank you. I love you. Yeah, that's it, right?
Good vibes.
And it changed. Yeah, vibes.
Sure, like good vibes.
Have my good vibes. Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine
changes the brain waves, and then you attract the things that you want in your life, right?
Yeah. Imagine
not suffering and pain.
Screw you. I hate you.
Yeah.
Stupid. Like if you're saying this stuff to yourself.
Man, it's crazy. I have this book, with this Japanese. I think it was like I don't know if he's a photographer, but he started taking a picture of water. And he would freeze it, and he would see how the crystals form in the water, and so he would yell like "I hate you," and they would form all like nasty, and then there's like you say like love or gratitude or whatever, and they would form all beautiful.
Yeah, it's all that. So with plants.
Plants and water. We are water. We are. And just how we're so interconnected, right, with the plants, and just like the, below the plants, right, you have the roots, and then the fungus is like traveling, right? Like it's everywhere, right? It's interconnected. They call it the worldwide. What was it? Not World Wide Web, but worldwood. I don't know, something like that. But how it's all interconnected underneath the ground. Like all the the nutrients and just they talk to each other. The trees, when there's like something coming in, like insects or something, they actually speak to each other, and then they release like sugars, whatever, to protect themselves. Yeah, right. We think they're just like, they're just trees, they're just plants. Yeah. And like, I've been studying so much neuroscience right these last few years, and it's crazy, man. Like, because I had multiple sclerosis, and I had a hard time speaking, walking, like, and I got treated like my life is over. My life was over, like, it's downhill from here.
How bad did it get with like walking?
Man, like you have a mindset that the martial arts gives you, and so like you kind of don't accept it. Like you don't accept defeat, and so I think I had that, Thank God. Mm-hmm. But it was like maybe, and I competed. I competed like in all these masters. I did like a world tour. I was like, what if I can't do jiu-jitsu in 6 months?
Yeah, I remember I seeing you.
Yeah, I went crazy. I competed in the Amazon and Europe and. Like everywhere, all over the U.S., like Asia, like I went everywhere, And I was like, well, let's go out of my shield, let's do it, And
how bad were you feeling this?
I had pain, all my joints. I couldn't put my seatbelt on. I had no twist. You saw I did the stretches today after class, and I have like full. I can, I'm good. It's because of TAC-FIT. It gave me my life back, but. Like I got treated like my life was over, right? It's crazy, and it doesn't. I don't know if we're talking about TAC-FIT and just jiu-jitsu and all these things, but not giving up and then finding the right thing. Jiu-jitsu gave me the mindset, martial arts gave me the mindset, and then TAC-FIT gave me all the right things for me to, heal myself and be better. I had a hard time walking, I had a hard time talking, like. It was real, it was real. And I'd never accepted it. Like, I'm good. Like my balance, I would stand up. I would just like fall over, like weird stuff, And, no, it's because of this. Oh, it's because of that, But it's just, it was like, thank God for TACFit. It saved my life, and I'm so grateful that, you know, like everybody that's done it, we've been doing it for 5 years now here. The same thing happens, you know. They really become better. They become better.
There's a heavy focus on like I mean, I was going to ask you this. Because I don't know, but I've noticed we talk a lot about like fascia, right? Like the muscle fascia, and like to what extent is that inside the system? Like, is that like, hey, that's this? Yeah,
so if, like, you know, it's everything, right? But fascia, if you eat an orange, for example, right, you have like the skin, right, and then underneath is like white stuff, you know, and so you can say that's fascia. You take an orange slice out, right? There's like, you have to take the stuff out of the white stuff. The white stuff is interconnected. Each slice, each fiber, there's the little bit, it gets thinner, but it's still there, you know? And so that's fascia inside the body. And that's how we're interconnected, you know, within ourselves. That's how we're like designed. And so before, I don't know, like probably 5-10 years ago, like they just like disregarded, like that wasn't important, you know? Now it's like, I think they classified it as an organ, you know, but it looks like a spider web, you know, and basically everything's interconnected with that. All of our, you know, nervous system. So it's like nerves, right? It's like your brain, you know, from what stuff, and you know, it makes sense because it's like a tree, right? Like the roots, right? But it's inside of us, and you know, if you're missing an arm or whatever, like you're missing parts, the maps of your brain. Anyway, you know, like your hormones, your nervous system, your immune system, your inflammation, all that stuff runs through that, you know. So if you don't move, guess what happens to those fibers, you know? They get hard, and then stuff doesn't flow through your body. The water doesn't flow through your body, and then you start getting sick. You know, you start having pain, and it's just a signal to your brain, like, hey, you need to move your thing. Hey, you need to think a change because something's not right, you know? But when you have pain, you're like, oh, I don't want to move. And so you like, that's what was happening to me. I was like, having so much pain, like you end up like not wanting to do anything, you know, like be in bed. It's kind of crazy, man. Me just telling the stories. I've never like openly like kind of talked. Like I'm telling people now, you know, I want to be authentic, but it's crazy, man, the situation I was in, you know, and didn't have to be like that. It never had to be like that. You know, I could have had TACFit in my life, and you know, it would have been all good. You know, it would have been all good, and that was MS. But jiu-jitsu, I see the same things. You know, like guys can't move. You know, it's all the right stuff, man. And yeah, I really give my life to, of course, jiu-jitsu, but all those also TACFit, connecting TACFit with jiu-jitsu, but TACFit and just helping the world, you know, with this like amazing system.
Is there any like focus on like myofascial release?
Of course, it's all in there. It's the most complete thing out there.
But like by another person, like doing it like ART.
You can do manual. There's some things there's some systems that I've done. I like this group of Stretch to Win. You know, they're in Arizona. Like you can do manual therapy, and it's like it's all, you know, if it's right, it's gonna be similar, right? And so they do like all traction and just all the right stuff, you know, to create space, because stuff gets glued together, right? You train, whatever, it gets thicker. And so you got to just pull it apart, you know, so stuff can travel freely through your body.
I'm convinced of this because I just, you know, I went to Colombia and I got a pretty extensive stem cell therapy. Like shoulder, knees, feet, back, discs in the back, IV therapy, like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like the
Scotty from On the Mat and Ed Clay, you know, in their hospital, they're all doing that. There's, you know, it was only cancer pretty much, but they just partnered up with the scientists, and they're gonna have all that stuff there, which is right over the board. I just want to give a shout out because they're doing big work, you know.
Yeah. You
don't have to go to Columbia. You don't have to, it's right over the board. It's like so easy. I didn't realize it was that easy to just like pretty much just drive over, depending on the time of the day, right?
Yeah, get some tacos over there and
get
the best food right across the border.
Yeah.
Scotty, I think he's doing great things. I talked to him when I was you know, making plans, and yeah, it's amazing to see he's doing a lot of good work, it looks like. But, you know, I felt...
Chip's a hospital. Shout out, yeah.
I started to feel, and I feel that the stem cell stuff is super legit, man. Like, my body's definitely healing. I feel stronger, but I've also noticed this, and this is why I'm getting excited to get into, like, the myofascia release and TACFit. Because... even after I got the therapy, I'm feeling perfect. I feel great. Like sleep quality is great. Everything's feeling great. I also started to notice I started doing a little bit of boxing, and then I noticed, oh man, my foot is aching me, but it's not because of the foot. It's because I got a super tight calf that hasn't been worked out, and I started poking around. It's like I got these big lumps of like scar tissue that needs to be broken up.
For sure.
So there's things that like maybe it's the fascia or the scar tissue, whatever it is, but it's causing joints to work
harder. Yeah, right.
And rub and like
exactly. And so you do all the movements in tack fit. You know, you do all the movements, and so of course there's like I think the trifecta is like, from my opinion, you know, like the movement, some kind of manual therapy like form, you know, and also like the psychology, the studying like things, you know, because if you understand things, like you know, you do better, right? Your mindset, and because that affects everything, right? If you have the knowledge, oh, that's what's happening. Oh, okay, like more awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think those three things, those facets, really help you, you know.
It's funny, man.
Be your best.
When you know, going back,
but it's all included, man. It's, you know, like I hate to keep saying it, but it's like, it really blows my mind, you know, how advanced, how far ahead Scott was, you know, and is still, you know, Scott Sana with all the stuff, his work, his life's work. And I'm so grateful that I get to, you know, support that, you know. So that's something that's given me so much, you know. It's like jiu-jitsu, you know, and so, but jiu-jitsu gave me the mindset to be able to do this work. And he was a martial artist himself. He found his learning style through martial arts. And then he, you know, he the way he is, and, you know, he's able to basically create a martial art pretty much without fighting anybody, you know, just yourself. That's how I look at it, you know. And it's just, yeah.
What would you say is like the bigger, like comparing it to like Ginástica Natural? Like, what would you say?
It's just precise, very, very precise. It's all the right stuff, you know. It's very precise, you know. There's no like, oh, do like this, or like random. It's like everything is thought out. And there's a reason.
More like strength training in there too.
It's everything. Yeah. It's strength and mobility. Like I always talk with Robert Miller, our head coach here at the Attack Fit head coach. You know, we always talk about it. You know, and it's like, you know, for a jiu-jitsu guy, but I think overall for everybody, you want to be strong, but you want to be mobile. You don't want to lose your mobility, because if you lose your mobility, you lose part of your life. You know, your life experience. So it's like a balance, you know. Yeah, but it's that balance, you know. So Attack Fit gives you that. You get real strength, you know, the club belt training, it's real strength. There's a reason why, like, you know, it's been around. And you see like the old Persian and Indian wrestlers. I don't know if you saw that movie Dangal with the guy has the daughters and they become wrestlers. Yeah, they even have a wooden one, you know, like, but there's a reason why they do those things, you know. And so he brought it kind of from there, but he made it like, you know, out of steel, and the club bell, you know, he made the club bell. And because your joints can get stronger. For example, you're talking about creating like stretching it out, right? There's a lock. So pulling your, for example, like the club bell, you swing it, right? And so it's pulling your arm, your joints apart. And so you get stronger like that. And your tendons, I did like a dissection, and you can see how I was like, what does a tendon look like? You know, you see a diagram in a book, and, you know, it's drawn a certain way, but I went and did the human, you know, the dead bodies, you know, untreated cadavers. Yeah. And how it's like a ribbon, and it's like flat. It goes through the muscle. Okay. It goes through the, you know, to the muscle, to the bone. Right. And then you have the ligaments, bone to bone, but it's crazy. It goes through the muscle belly, through the muscle, and into the bone, you know? And so all that stuff is connected. So when you stretch out the connection to the bones, you stretch out the ligaments, everything's interconnected. That starts to create the space. It starts to release those lumps. It starts to get rid of all that. And that's just through movement. Sometimes you're tired. You want to just lay there and have somebody work on you and stretch you out. That's cool too, you know? And I think that, you know, but it's all there. It's all there.
Do you do any like just straight like flexible, just stretching?
You know, so the process, right? We do our into flow, like our kind of warm ups, where you move all your joints, and then you do a proper warm up where you activate all the different muscles and different parts of your body, right? Especially if you're working some certain things out, you know. But it's usually like total body anyway. But we do a whole like that, and then we do like the 20-minute workout for Attack Fit class, for example, and it's stress, but just enough stress. It's just like a precision, you know. And then you do a cool down. You stretch out after class. You turn off those muscles, just like we did in jiu-jitsu today. That's what I did today at the end of class, right? Is we turned off all those muscles that we used, so you can recover, because that way your
like
body doesn't
dynamic
adapt.
stretching, or like as far as like the dynamic or static stretching. What do you?
For example, like we use our grip, and we use our, it goes down the chain right to the lats and the neck, everything. So I usually kind of hit those parts, and like our hips, right? We're like, we flex, we're like total flexion, right? So I hit all the muscles. For example, like for you to stretch out your bicep, or your biceps really tight, when you flex your tricep, when you flex like the opposite muscle, that turns off the bicep, So say I did a bunch of bicep curls, and then you go home and I get so sore. So if you flex like the tricep, that kind of turns off. You can't flex your bicep, and so like opposite kind of muscles. If I said that right, but antagonistic muscles, So, for example, squeezing our butt to open up those hips, like we did the bridges at the end, right? That big bridge, because our hips are like in flexion. And so we want to open up those hips. And so that's why we squeeze the butt at the end, and also had our elbows locked out, because it's all interconnected. And so you become more aware, and you start to study, and all the information is there, and it takes time. It's a process, it's a lifelong study for me, for everybody, Unless you're Scott Son is still, I'm sure he's always studying, always learning stuff, But yeah, it's all there, man. It's all there. It's a way of life. It's a way of life, and I'm grateful because I still have jiu-jitsu, and I can just make it better, I can just improve it with all this stuff.
I think, I'm not here obviously to pump up TAC-FIT, right? I'm not getting paid for this. But like, I really do believe it is, it's almost like you have to have it.
For sure.
If you're going to be in this for 10 years, 15 years,
and people know, like, I was posting stuff, and then people, they're still seeing it. There's something there, right? And then I say certain things, and they're like, it resonates. Parts, what I say, it resonates with people. Like, oh man, I want to do that too. And it's authentic, I'm involved business-wise with TAC-FIT now, but I did not get into it. I didn't want to get involved with it for money, financial reasons. I do it because I believe in it. I do it because I believe in what it can do for people. I know what it's done for me. So I want to give everything it's given me back and more,
That's one of the reasons why I was taking a look at it, because I remember you were one of the first Americans, but this is like in the 90s or something like that. Yeah. You went to Brazil. No one really knew Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If you some, small little, group of people who watched the UFC might have known something, but I remember you were like, you saw something. You saw it was special, and you were right, because it's a global movement now, right?
It's a global movement. So I feel the same thing with TAC-FIT, like when I first did jiu-jitsu, I was like, what are you doing? And I just followed my heart. I followed my instinct, followed my heart, and glad I wasn't wrong, and look what's happened now with jiu-jitsu around the world. And with TAC-FIT, it's been around since like the late 90s, but just didn't have the business stuff behind it, And so that's what I feel, the same thing. And the technology, like it wasn't science, right? But now all this stuff, nobody can say anything because it is science. And so it's all the right time. The world's ready for it, and I'm just so grateful that I get to do something that I really love so much, and, get to help people, be their best. And,
yeah, we see this. How many times I went through this personally, and then you see it just being in the positions we're on in the school where people, they fall in love with jiu-jitsu, then they say, oh yeah, I feel probably better if I get stronger, and they start lifting weights. Before you know, they're just injured.
Right. I was watching, what's his name, Leandro Lowe, doing some of the workout routines, and sure enough, his shoulder, like, just stuff started happening, And that's,
but when you're young,
right?
We get away with this stuff.
Of course. Recover but you start to add the years on, and then there you go. It's like the formula to, but you don't have to be. It doesn't have to be like that. Going back to what you were saying about, I moved down to Brazil. When I first came back from Brazil and I started my gym, I was like, okay, what do I call my gym? Like something martial arts, because nobody knew what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was. They knew what karate, taekwondo was. Do I just call it like martial arts, blah blah blah, Or
ground karate,
or do I pretty all right? I could have that would have made more sense, but I was like, no, I believe in this, And so I called my gym like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy, and I was like, that's what I called it. I just straight up the name, And so when I did TAC-FIT, I was CrossFit certified. I was like, oh, I'll do CrossFit and then just teach TAC-FIT, and then I was like, it reminded me of those days, like, no, I'm going to represent, and so I put a sign up right away because I knew this is the right stuff, I'm just so grateful that I've had a second chance to really do it, because the guy Scott Sonnen, who introduced me, right, the creator, and he trained me for one of my UFC fights for conditioning, and it had such a big influence on me that I never forgot. And the one big thing, I've said this story so many times, was I got thrown on my head. Somebody played me. I was training for one of my MMA fights, and I couldn't move my neck. You know, it was like so bad. And usually it's like 46 weeks. They talk about surgery, and right. And he was like, okay, do this movement, and I did it. I got better in a week. I got better in a week. My first jiu-jitsu coach, he was a Navy SEAL. And after my first loss, my UFC loss, you know, he's like, you need to get with this guy. I was like, okay, I trusted him, you know, okay. And he's always been ahead of his time a little bit too with things. He's always like studying things. I was like, okay. And so Scott knew me because he was a grappler as well. And, you know, the rest is history, you know. And he saved the message. I called him. He saved that message, you know. It's like so eerie, you know, all these years go by. And, yeah, it was just meant to be, I think, you know. I think I need, like, somebody that, you know, is giving their life to martial arts to have like a disability, if you want to call it that, you know. And then, you know, just
it's funny how Dustin
to go all in into TACFIT, and then just be able to talk the talk, right, and walk the walk, more importantly.
Yeah, I think any jiu-jitsu guys who, especially if you're like a teacher, you got to take a look at this. I mean, you don't have to. You can do whatever you want, but I strongly suggest.
No, for sure, right? For sure. Why wouldn't you do it?
Because you're already doing something, right? Like I remember, look at the routines that we did back in the day.
Why not do the best version? Yeah.
Like what were we taught to do? And I'm not talking crap, because we're all just, you know, things grow. We're evolving, but and we don't know what we knew. I mean, we know more obviously as we grow, hopefully, but you do some level of warm up, right? And, or cool down or something. And I know for me, I was doing like, why am I doing sit-ups after my training? I'm not trying to talk crap about people who do that. Maybe there's a benefit. I just don't know. But is it that the best thing I can do after training? I would say there's better. I think TACFIT would be much better.
Right? That makes sense when I'm telling you, like your flexion, so you're flexing more, or do you want to turn off those muscles, right? So you can recover and have the liquids and stuff flow through your body like it's designed to do, so your body can get nutrients, so your joints can get nutrients, so they can stay healthy. Or do you want to overuse stuff, misuse stuff, disuse stuff, you know, your body, the joints and the ligaments and, you know, everything else, right? The muscles, like you said, like about your calf, right? Yeah. You get all these knots and scar tissue, right?
Yeah, because it's sad, man. I've over the years, I'm sure you've probably seen some people who are like very promising, and you see that they love the art and they're growing and everything's good.
I'm like, myself, you know, I couldn't do one push-up when I got into the UFC because my shoulders were so bad. Man, I was supposed to be in my prime. I could not do one push-up. I had to do like those Hindu push-ups because I couldn't. My shoulders are so bad. I used to bench press really heavy and, you know, not the right way, you know, go heavier than I should be, and just, you know, just not training the right way. I'm the classic, I'm the perfect example, you know, of, you know, so, you know, I wish I would have found TACFIT earlier. And so that's my mission, you know, I want to share it with the world. I want people, my friends to do it. Like my friend Alshande, he tapped out Jacare, who was like, you know, top black belt, and he couldn't train jiu-jitsu anymore. His lower back would always hurt him. And so I started showing him some of the flows and some of the TACFIT things, and he started doing it. And guess what? He started training again. He was training like every day. He started competing. He's a musician, you know, Shanji. He actually made the song for the podcast, you know.
Oh, cool.
It's called Freedom, you know.
Oh,
and
cool.
Yeah, I get to help my friends, you know. I get to help, you know, everybody, right, with this stuff. So I'm grateful that I have, you know, the opportunity. I feel like a sales that we're selling, but you know, it's real, you know.
It's like a TACFIT infomercial. This one,
yeah, it's all good, you know. It's all good.
No, but I'm happy because yeah, man. I'm really it's so much of that yin yang logo in martial arts, like in life, right? Balance. When you're so down, when your body has failed you and you can't use it, it's so depressing.
Yeah.
But it's so uplifting when you find that you get the belief back in the body's ability to heal itself again. Right. And when you see that, I actually can do some things to correct some patterns that actually make me feel much better.
Yeah.
I think that is like
that blew my mind, right? I couldn't believe that I can heal myself through movement. I was like, what? You know, like I thought, you know, I needed like surgery or, you know, any drugs, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Making him, yeah, oh, okay. All right. And that had such a big impact on me. I never forgot it. And here I am, you know, like I get to, you know, spread the love, be a part of that. You know, we have an amazing team of international coaches and like, man, top of the food chain people. And there's a reason why it attracts such quality people, you know, there's a reason. So yeah, just grateful that I get to be a part and see the growth of it, you know, over the next few years.
Yeah. I'm happy to, be an observer, man, and seeing everything.
Be a part, man. Yeah. Be a part, you know.
Hopefully, I'm working on it.
I
want to make sure my movements are sharp.
Yeah, well, it's a process, right? And I'd love to, you know, I got your back, you know, be with you. I wanted to just say, like, I went for a TAC-FIT, like a cert, you know, to Chicago a few times, right? Workshop and a cert, and you know, always pick me up and you showed me around Chicago, you know. And it was amazing. You know, like you grew up in Chicago, and I used to love Michael Jordan. You know, I used to watch him, and I was like, you used to tell me stories about, you know, the Bulls and just growing up in that era. You know, watched The Last Dance too, like recently, and just brought all those memories. Watching my kids, you know, and I always have good memories, you know, because of that. You know, just kind of connecting jiu-jitsu and just all my life experiences in a way, you know. And luckily, it wasn't like freezing. I thought it was summer, I think, right, or it was spring or something. So it was nice weather. But
we gotta get you back out again, man.
Yeah, appreciate that, and thank you, man. Thank you for all the work that you do. You know, I mean, I have, you know, the deepest respect for you and your family. You know, for the work that you've been doing for so long, and we're on the same wavelength. You know, the same vibration. You know, of helping people, helping our community. Yeah. So yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for your friendship.
We'll keep it going, and you know, keep doing our best.
That's it. That's all we can do, right?
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.